There are two things that I'm grateful for. A, that Twitter doesn't write this show, and B, that there's just so many theories out there to enjoy. The Carlin brothers, the film theorists, random reviewers. Jeremy Jahns has even thrown his hat in the ring. It's really cool to just see people theorize about this show, and I'm glad that the show is presented in a way where that type of thing is possible. Let's get started. Spoilers for episode 7 of WandaVision incoming. Today's episode, called Breaking the Fourth Wall, I think we're pretty much caught up as far as like era, specific sitcoms to parody or mimic or satirize, because I think this episode was doing Modern Family. That being said, I never watched Modern Family, so I don't really know. I know Sofia Vergara was on the show, and a lot of people were happy about that. And I know that Al Bundy from Married with Children was on it as well. I couldn't get into it. It's just not my type of comedy, I guess. I don't know. But this was a Modern Family based episode from what I could tell. And that being the case, there were moments like in like The Office or whatever where characters would just talk to a camera in like a confessional type of setting. And Wanda has made it clear that she's not feeling well after the last episode, which a lot of us were expecting, and it makes a lot of sense. Because if you remember in the last episode, she expanded the Hex to be a lot bigger so that she could snatch Vision back up so that he wouldn't die. And I don't know if that expansion jutsu alone was enough to completely exhaust her chakra supply, but it's definitely becoming taxing as she can't quite keep control of the minutia in this little world she created. Like the kids went from playing on like I think an Xbox to like an N64 to a GameCube to an Atari, something like that. The game system just kept changing, and then her almond milk turned to regular milk, turned to soy milk, turned to regular milk, but from a different era. It's very strange. I will say, when it was like the milk carton, there was a missing person on the back of the carton, and she just didn't care. She just was, fuck it, I'm pouring milk. That's what I'm doing right now. And then before she ate her cereal, she smelled the milk to see if it was good. It's like, wow, she really is losing control of this world that she made. Vision, though. Vision's okay, and Darcy got snatched up into the Hex, and she was an escape artist in this traveling circus. That didn't last long. He broke her out as soon as he got the chance to. And I guess she's been catching him up to speed, so now he understands everything that happened between Age of Ultron and now, for the most part. He's still just as in the dark about how all this started as we are, and he's like, okay, well, I need to talk to Wanda about this, but Wanda's like, I don't exactly want to see you because you're going to say things to me that I don't like. So she starts making all these obstacles like, oh, they need to use red lights. Oh, man, the light stopped working. They need to fix it. Oh, here's a crossing guard and some kids. Stuff like that, because I'm sure Wanda is dreading the conversation that she's going to have with Vision after everything that's gone on. So she's like, let's just keep that from happening for as long as possible. Delay it, postpone. Also, Pietro's not in this episode. Wanda's pretty sure that that's not her brother, which doesn't necessarily mean that he's X-Men Quicksilver. My thing about that is he has memories of the MCU. He knows he looks different. I've seen plenty of theories that, like, Professor X planted him there so that they could get answers, but I'm like, Wanda's not a mutant, so that's not really their concern. And then I saw somebody on TikTok talking about how in the X-Men universe, Scarlet Witch, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, there is no Scarlet Witch in the X-Men universe because she was a child in Days of Future Past, and we never saw her again. I got off track. I do want to talk about the fact that during one of Wanda's like sidebar confessional type of things, she was talking to the camera, and whoever was operating the camera said, do you feel like this is what you deserve? And I was like, interesting manifestation of guilt, maybe? I'm just realizing these glasses kind of make me look like Clark Kent. I haven't worn these on the channel in a while. You might not even recognize them anyway. But I was like, that's very interesting of a disembodied voice to say, especially in a situation such as this. Now, here's where I address what I said at the beginning of this video, where I said I'm glad that the fans don't write this show. a lot of people were saying that the aerospace engineer that Monica was referring to in the previous episode was going to be somebody like Reed Richards, maybe even Susan Storm, maybe Blue Marvel, all sorts of things like that. And for a second, I started to get my hopes up to see my boy Reed Richards, mostly because I wanted Rahul Kohli to play him. I don't think that's going to happen, but it would be great. But none of that happened. It just ended up being some, random character that they came up with for the show. And that's cool and everything. But they were able to get the exact specs of the vehicle that Monica was hypothesizing last episode, so maybe they're scrolls or something? I don't know. But she tries to drive back through the hex. It doesn't work, so she goes through, and by sheer willpower, she holds onto her own identity. She does not let the inside of the hex change her, and then she gets powers? Maybe she had them all along. I don't know. Her eyes turn blue, and then she has some sort of like kinetic resistance ability that she uses against Wanda later on when she confronts her about like, hey, Hayward is trying to take Vision from you because he wants to bring him back online. I have to warn you, Vision's in danger, that sort of thing. And Wanda's just not happy about it. Then Agnes shows up. We'll talk about her in a second. So yeah, I don't know if that she always had those powers or if the Hex gave them to her. However, if it is the latter option, then that means that a lot of people who've been theorizing that the Hex will end up engulfing the planet, and it will just give some people powers, and that's how they'll bring mutants into the story, that could happen. I wouldn't be crazy about it, but I mean, you gotta bring them in somehow. Although, do they really? Do they? Just because they have them? They don't have to bring the mutants into it, do they? I've been feeling that way since 2019 because, okay, sidebar. People have been very convinced that this show in particular is going to be how we introduce mutants to the MCU. That would be interesting to consider. However, Kevin apparently came up with this show. Kevin Feige, the president of Marvel Studios, came up with this show before Endgame was like finished, because that's something that Elizabeth Olsen has been talking about. Is like Kevin had pitched her the show like late 2018, early 2019, something like that. Didn't Disney take until sometime in late 2018 to early 2019 to get the mutants? To get Fox, rather. So, like, they would have had to adjust for that anyway. It just doesn't seem like Kevin came up with the show with mutants in mind, especially because, like, that deal between Disney and Fox hadn't even been finalized just yet. Also, when Marvel showed off their slate of upcoming things, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, Fantastic Four by John Watts, all this other stuff that's coming up in the future, there was no mention of X-Men. I don't think they're interested in doing anything with the X-Men just yet. I don't know. I could be wrong. That's not even a theory. That's just me looking at the business side of things. I don't see Kevin being too concerned with Wolverine right now. I don't know. But yeah, I could be wrong. That's just how I see it. Anyway, so the theories were right. She is a witch named Agatha Harkness. Now, my thing is, I'm pretty knowledgeable about the comics to a certain degree. There are some plot elements that I can anticipate because of my knowledge of the source material. I'm quite read on Captain America, Iron Man, Wolverine, Thor, The Incredible Hulk, Spider-Man, Daredevil. Not so much the super recent stuff, because Marvel Comics in the last 5-6 years have been very frustrating in a lot of ways. And if you've been reading them, then you probably know what I mean. I'm not going to go into any further detail than that. But there are some characters that I just don't know a whole lot about. Two of them being the Vision and Scarlet Witch. So, I don't know who Agatha Harkness is. I know that she is like Mephisto's right-hand woman. I don't even know that much about Mephisto because I don't really read Ghost Rider. The only Mephisto stuff that I know of is from stuff like Spider-Man One More Day, Infinity Gauntlet, stuff like that. Knowing, like, stories that Mephisto is in and knowing Mephisto himself, different things. I don't know Scarlet Witch very well, or Vision, or Mephistopheles, right? However, I am very glad about that, because that means that there are things that happen that surprise me. Like Agnes being a witch named Agatha Harkness that's been pulling the strings of the show the entire time. So now we kind of have our answers to how all this got started. Agatha has been manipulating Wanda this whole time. Also, her like intro sequence and her theme song. That was pretty cool. The commercial. I didn't talk about the commercial this episode. It's an antidepressant called Nexus, which that entire thing is Wanda themed, right? Some of them, you know, have been Wanda themed, like the Lagos, paper towels and stuff like that. It's like, oh, whoops. But this, I think, is her facing reality that she's doing the wrong thing. She's in the wrong, and she's going to have to face some sort of consequence. I mean, that is a theme that's in that commercial. It's like, oh, when you're ready to face reality, you know, when your doctor tells you to move on with your life, that sort of thing. So I think she's finally accepting what's going on in her life, and she's going to have to, you know, own up to what she's been doing. And that could be interesting. I think that these commercials have been representing some sort of mini arc in the story. I don't know. But Kevin Feige said that the last 3 episodes of WandaVision are all going to be an hour long each. So I guess episodes 8, 9, and 10, which I didn't know there were 10 episodes. I thought there were only 8. So I guess, yeah, episodes 8, 9, and 10 will be an hour long. So we've pretty much got Avengers Endgame left of this show. So there's still a lot that could happen. But it looks like Agatha snatched up Billy and Tommy for some reason, who I'm only just now realizing are supposed to be Speed and Wiccan. You would think that, whatever. But that was a pretty crazy episode, honestly. WandaVision, episode 7. Have you seen it? What did you think about it? Whatever it is, whatever you think about it below, Jake. I mean, there's always more videos from me. Go ahead and click somewhere on the screen and hit subscribe if you're new. Share this video with your friends. And buy my mixtape.